Hello there, my name is Triple S, and in this video I'm going to point-by-point review Season 1, Episode 2 of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Let's begin. Point number 1. Alright, Dunk pooping in the last episode is one thing since we didn't actually see his arsehole and feces coming out of it, but full on seeing Arlen's massive pissing dong is kinda crossing the line. I mean, seeing more male nudity on screen and from someone that isn't a model or a bodybuilder, it is good to see from an equal representation point of view, but when the nudity also involves bodily fluids that would normally go into a toilet, I just hope this is the last we see of it being shown this explicitly. I don't want every episode to open like this. Point number 2. In this episode's Inside the Episode video on the Game of Thrones YouTube channel, showrunner Ira Parker explains they gave Arlen such a massive member because the rest of the episode is spent shitting on him. No one remembers him despite how many lords he served. He lived in hedges and died by the side of a muddy road. He wasn't gifted with sword or lance. He drank, he whored, he didn't have any friends, and he was never a champion in the 60 years he was alive. So because he wasn't as great a man as Dunk believed he was, showrunner Ira Parker made him a great man in another sense by giving him a massive cock. Point number 3. In the novella, there's no mention of Arlen having a wound on his arm, and he seemed to die due to a few days of rain, wind, and cold weather making him sick. He did sing the same song though as he does in the show, with original lyrics being about going to Gulltown, which Arlen changed to Ashford for obvious reasons. Point number 4. The Tyrell guy chewing on sour leaf Dunk talks to is Leo Longthorn Tyrell, played by Steve Wall, and the guy behind Leo is Sir Samwell according to the credits, and is played by David Pearce. And fans of the show Vikings will recognise both actors as having played the characters of Sven and Einar, though they never appeared in the show together, with Sven's last appearance in Season 1 Episode 6 and Einar's first appearance in Season 2 Episode 6. Point number 5. Egg actor Dexter Sol Ansel must have had so much fun being allowed to swear while filming this. I was wondering if the bad language was going to be kept to a minimum around this 11-year-old kid, but then to actually hear it come from him is just hilarious. Also, whoever came up with the line, "turn his arsehole into a lancehole," deserves an award. Point number 6. In relation to the Targaryens we know from the shows House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones, Baelor and Maekar are Rhaenyra and Daemon's great-great-grandsons, and as for Daenerys, Baelor is her great-great-great-uncle and Maekar is her great-great-grandfather. And if you're wondering why Baelor and Maekar don't look much alike in terms of hair colour, that is because while their father Daeron the Good is Targaryen, their mother is Miriam Martell, and that it is she who Baelor favours more in appearance. Point number 7. As well as this show now having 2 actors from Vikings, it also now has 2 actors from the show The Crown. The first, of course, being Daniel Ings, who plays Lionel Baratheon and who played Mike Parker in The Crown, and the second being Bertie Carvel as Baelor Targaryen, who played 2 roles in The Crown: Robin Day in Season 2 Episode 5 and Tony Blair in Seasons 5 and 6. While I didn't really buy Bertie as Tony Blair in The Crown, I think he plays a pretty good Baelor here. Point number 8. The all-white Kingsguard armour here looks so much cooler in my opinion compared to what we've seen in Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, and is actually more book accurate, where it is described as being all white and possesses for the first time in live action the sigil of a crown encircled by 7 swords. Point number 9. I like the addition of this non-novella scene of Lady Gwyn Ashford interacting with Dunk. I find it funny that she catches a stranger eavesdropping on her father and the princes, but instead of telling on him, she starts gossiping, teases him, and then runs off like a naive young bratty girl would. Point number 10. Daemon Lannister, the Grey Lion, in relation to the Lannisters from Game of Thrones, would be the great-grandfather of Tywin and Kevin Lannister. But when it comes to House of the Dragon, we know Tywin Lannister had no children, making his twin brother Jason Daemon's direct ancestor, and Jason had a son named Lorien. However, it's unknown if Daemon was Lorien's son, which would then make Daemon Jason's grandson, or if there is another generation of separation between Lorien and Daemon, which would then make Daemon Jason's great-grandson. Point number 11. With Dunk saying Arlen used to say he was thick as a castle wall and slow as an aurochs, it brings to mind that A Song of Ice and Fire character Gren, who was nicknamed the Aurochs by Alistair Thorne to mock him for being big and stupid. Point number 12. Gods be good, Dunk, you have got to work on your phrasing. You should have said something more like, you trust they will be found safe. Also, I like Plumber giving Dunk signals to help him out, just like he helped him out in the last episode by letting him know that if someone can vouch for his knighthood, then he can enter the lists. It's a nice little subversion of assuming he might be cruel based on his demeanour. Point number 13. Just like how Stefan Fossaway has been made more of an arsehole for the show compared to how he is in the novella, the same has been done with Maekar. While he is still rude to Dunk during this scene in the novella, he never once drops an F-bomb. And just like with Stefan, I'm not sure how I feel about the show making Maekar more of a dick, what with knowing what's going to happen later on from the novella. Again, we're just going to have to wait and see. Point number 14. This tug-of-war scene is a new scene for the show, and I must say I think it is a great addition. Daniel Ings steals the limelight again as Lionel, and while I would say it's cool Dunk and him are on a first name basis, I wonder if Lionel actually even remembers Dunk's name since he just calls him the Hedge Knight. I mean, with how drunk he got when they met, I wouldn't blame him for forgetting. Even if he doesn't remember Dunk's name though, they're at least still close enough for Lionel to give him a smack on the ass. It all makes me wonder just how many Dunk and Lionel ship fanfictions are already being written just after these first 2 episodes. I also loved that Egg, despite having only just said he's a bit puny for his age, still joins in on the tug of war. And showing Lionel walking to the front of his group, looking down kind of perplexed, and it cutting to reveal Egg dangling from the rope just made me laugh out loud. And Dexter Sol Ansel revealed in an interview with the Radio Times that him dangling from the rope was actually ad-libbed. Because his team was losing and where he would have been standing holding the rope, he would have been in the mud. So he got his legs up onto the rope to avoid getting his costume dirty. He also went on to say that the take used of a Dunk actor Peter Claffey throwing him high into the air. When he came back down, he actually smashed his eye into Peter's nose, which was bad timing because the man himself, George R.R. Martin, just then wanted to speak to Dexter to congratulate him. So Dexter had to chat with him whilst covering his injured eye. Point number 15. The trifecta is complete. We saw a golden dragon and some copper pennies last episode, and here we now see the silver of Westeros' currency. When he said to Beoni he didn't have a stag in the last episode, he must have meant he didn't have one to spare. Which I was assuming, since in the novella it specifically mentions him taking 3 silver stags, 19 copper pennies, and a chipped garnet from Arlen's purse after he died. And it would have been weird for the show to change that when it's been adapting scenes 1-to-1 and dialogue word for word from the novella. Also, I was confused by what Steely Pate says here about 2 stags buying Dunk a day when he was asking for 600 stags. And I think what he's saying is that Dunk can essentially rent the armour for 1 day, but if he doesn't pay the rest, he has to return the armour. So Dunk is hoping he wins his first joust and makes enough coin ransoming the loser's arms, armour and horse back to them to pay off Pate. Point number 16. We don't really get a good, clear look at all of the helmets worn by those in the joust, but with what I could make out, I'll say I am very happy that they are just as outlandish as I had hoped they would be. The antlers on Lionel's helmet, just, yes, exactly what I wanted, and Valar's is simple but cool. Gives me vibes of the armour worn by Dracula in the 1992 movie Bram Stoker's Dracula. And then seeing the Tully fish, the Lannister lion, the Hightower tower, I just love it. Point number 17. The jousting goes on for a lot longer in the novella than what we saw in the show. Presumably we'll see more in the next episode and during the day rather than night as in the novella. We also didn't get to see any of the contenders continue to fight on foot after falling off their horses. And while Leo Tyrell's stunt of jumping up onto someone else's horse and grabbing someone else's shield was impressive, I doubt that would really be allowed. I think at the point you've fallen off your horse, the fight continues on foot or you yield. You can't just jump back onto a horse as if nothing ever happened. Point number 18. Dunk doesn't appear to have a panic attack and suffer this level of anxiety watching the joust in the novella, and I was actually worried the show might go the route of having him start to second guess competing and maybe even try to figure out a way to get out of it. But that final fire line from him that tomorrow they will see what Arlen's hand has wrought when he jousts made all my worries disappear. Point number 19. Egg, whilst play fighting, mentions the house Blackfire, which is an offshoot of House Targaryen founded by Daeron the Good's bastard half-brother Daemon Waters in 184 AC, who took the surname Blackfire from the Targaryen ancestral Valyrian steel sword once wielded by Aegon the Conqueror, which was given to him rather than Daeron by their father Aegon IV, which helped Daemon gain allies when he decided to rebel against his brother. And it was during the Battle of the Red Grass Field in 196 AC, which Dunk mentioned at the start of the episode, where Daemon Blackfire died and his rebellion ended. Also, Baelor and Maekar actually participated in the battle, with their two separate forces crushing the Blackfire army between them being immortalized as a song The Hammer and the Anvil, with Baelor being the hammer and Maekar being the anvil. Thank you all, everyone, for watching. If you enjoyed the video, and I hope you did, give it a like to let me know, and if you want to see more, then make sure to subscribe. Thank you all so much again for watching. I've been Triple S, you've all been amazing, and I shall see you all in the next video.